you want an apocalypse? You're going to have it. Don't worry. Attack Iran. And now they will probably do this. Who knows? Perhaps they will dare to go to war. And the result, you can imagine, is going to be, quite frankly, apocalyptic. To use a word very fashionable nowadays in the United States, because it seems that the apocalyptic Christians are at the helm of the country, you know.
Welcome back to Legitimate Targets, everybody. I hope you're all having a great day. We have got a very special guest joining us for today's episode, someone who knows his way around the world and knows what correct diplomacy looks like and, how it can actually fail. So we're going to be discussing that today on a wide range of subjects with Ambassador José Zorilla, who entered the Spanish diplomatic service in 1973. He worked in Moscow, worked in Shanghai, worked in Milan, and he also was ambassador to Georgia before retiring in 2016. So, Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to start off by talking about the nature of the Russia-Ukraine U.S. negotiations right now, and your thoughts on, I guess, what is now we can say a failure to hold this meeting at least the first selected date in Budapest. What do you make about the future of these negotiations, and what do you think is really going on behind the scenes? Because it's clearly not just about the Ukraine conflict. There's, I'd imagine, a lot at play here.
Well, there are many questions concerning what you are asking me right now. And, first, there are two existential questions here, For Russia, it is existential that the pro-Nazi regime in Ukraine does not survive. It's critical. In this sense, for them, it's absolutely necessary, indispensable, that 2014, the Maidan, disappears. And this is something that Ukraine is not ready to do, and definitely the West is not willing to accept. So, I'm not very optimistic. That's number one. And second, what happens behind? Well, behind is a very clear story. The United States are convinced that they are the rulers of the world. They are preordained to rule the world. And those who oppose this state of things, they are not simply following a realpolitik strategy, but rather, an anti-human rights agenda, or how could I call it? Anti-divine, a devilish agenda. We are the good ones, they are the bad ones. We are the democratic world, we are the garden, and they are the jungle. And in the jungle, there are snakes and all kinds of bad animals. So we are here to hold the fort. Now, the end of this, Jackson, is war. That's it. So it's worse than in the days of the Cold War. In the days of the Cold War, nobody discussed this is one part of the world, this is the other one. We come from the founding fathers. You come from the April thesis, Lenin. The thesis of April, and we all know where we. You sing in a key, and I sing in another key. That's different. I'm good. You are bad. So I'm democratic. You are totalitarian. So it's a very bad thing. Now the critical question right now is whether 2014 is there to stay or not. Since this is existential, both for Russia and for the West, I cannot foresee a very good result. I think escalation is inevitable, and nobody knows what's going to happen at the end of the escalation. We're in escalation from day one. That all this began in 1990. The United States were not ready to eliminate, create a new paradigm, to forget about NATO and begin a new world. They didn't want it from day one. Besides that, they lied to Russia. They said, we will never enlarge, please, we'll never enlarge NATO to the east. And they were, from day one, they were thinking of doing it. There is a very interesting book on this, Mary Sarot, not a suspicious character, he was a member of the National Council of Security, First meeting. Do not let, said George Bush father, do not let Russia and Germany agree, because if they agree, NATO is blown. 1990, before anything happened, nothing. They were convinced that there would be a war sooner or later, because they wanted to launch a Valkyrian ride. You remember Apocalypse Now? The helicopters, whoa, that's the idea. So we are going to enter like a hot knife in a piece of butter. They have nothing to do. These guys, second-rate human race, Slavonic people. Now we can, we will reach till the shores of the Pacific Sea. Well, Russia said, well, ask us first. Arriving at the, the red line, the reddest of the red line, which was Ukraine, the whole paradigm, bloop, jump, blue. And we are that. And since we cannot accept that, nor Europe or the United States, escalation. And these incompetent people we have at the helm here in Europe think that, giving weapons to Ukraine and trying to sanction Russia will put an end to the war. I think they don't know Russia, I live there 6 years. Believe me, no.
I want to ask you about that. How do you think, I'd imagine the whole Tomahawk story is an attempt by Trump. Hopefully it's just an attempt by Trump to try and get Russia to weaken their position in negotiations. I hope he's not serious about sending nuclear capable missiles to Ukraine. But how do you think Russia, how they really feel about that behind the scenes?
Well, I think it's very clear that they are, quite frankly, pissed off. They're very, very angry, very, very angry. And they are right. I'm so sorry. God forgives me, but yes, I think they are absolutely right, because they are not the aggressor. They are the victims.
Yes.
We had, Jackson, not that I want to be father-like or anything like that, but I knew a different world. You were not even born in 75. And from 75 to 90, where I began my career in Helsinki, 75. So from 75 to 1990, we had the bliss, real bliss. We had detente. And then came 1990, and the United States decided, no. Peace, was more or less acceptable with the Soviet Union being the Soviet Union. But now they are just Russia. We are going to topple these guys. We are going to gallop by the steps, across the steps, until we reach Vladivostok. Whether they like it or not, who cares? And as a spare, we will use the old hatreds of Europe. That is Poland, the Baltic countries, and of course, the butler by excellence, which is the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. The United Kingdom believes that the more we are submissive to the United States, the more sovereign we are. Well, all right. Of Poland, I prefer not to say anything because, Poland is 81% of the Poles have Spain. For them, Spain is the most admired and loved country. But fact is that, well, historically speaking, Poland, well, the history of Poland is complex, and a guy like no less than Winston Churchill was very critical. He said, "Well, it's incredible, such a bunch of people. They are elegant. Even he said the word charming. They're charming. When it comes to governance, they haven't been able to do any right thing." I think I have the precise quote in some place somewhere, but I don't know if I can find it. Let me see. Give me a moment.
Of course.
I don't think. Is it feasible? No, because since we are right now in a conference, I don't think I can do it. But anyway, you have it in the first volume of the Church's memoirs. It's called the Gathering of the Storm. It's very, very tough on Poland. So remember, Jackson, the Second World War started in Poland. They are dangerous, very dangerous. Russia is not. They are. So let's follow this calmly, because I think the only hope of the West right now is to provoke a catastrophe, something. It's a kind of Chernobyl affair, something like that. The Chernobyl, moment, the Chernobyl moment. That would trigger something. This is what they are expecting, because otherwise, the rate of attrition is unsustainable for Ukraine. But I think when the United States decided to go for the whole hog and launch a coup in Kyiv in 2014, they made a terrible mistake. And we are all paying the consequences. I think hubris and arrogance, and the consequences are here to be seen. To employ, the Nazi layer of the society, since they are the most ardent enemies of Russia. We are going to use them as a spear against Russia, as they did everywhere. They did it also in the Middle East with Al-Holani, a criminal. There are pictures, there are reels. Al-Holani playing football with the heads of the people he had just beheaded in December 24. Right now, he's the respected leader of Syria. Why? Because he breaks the line of the Shia world. That's all. And they did the same in Afghanistan with the Taliban. Worst enemy of the Russians, Taliban. Sunnis this time. The result was devastating. 5 million internally displaced people in Afghanistan. And at the end, since they had radicalized Pakistan, victory was impossible. And now they resurrect Nazism in the heart of Europe to fight Russia. Insane.
Sorry?
Insane.
It's insane. I mean, they don't have a lot of tricks up their sleeves. They gotta revert back. I guess it's an interesting addition. It's an interesting layer of the story now for the Nazis to use Slavs against other Slavs. That's an interesting one. But again, even that's not new. If you look back at World War II. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the Middle East. You just brought it up. When you look at Iran right now, it's been widely, leaked and reported that Iranian generals right now are preparing for whatever's to come, likely war plans, so they don't get so caught off guard like they got caught off guard last time in the surprise attack. It wasn't too long ago, though, that a few weeks Israel told Russia, we don't want war with Iran. I think that maybe made a lot of Iranians feel as though a war was inevitable. What do you think about the potential of war breaking out? Do you think the Iranians are correct to be preparing for that right now and be on this high alert?
Well, I am not privy to the strategies of the CIA, I do not spend my evenings sipping whiskeys in the White House. No, actually, I don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me, the level of insanity is so high that anything can happen. They don't learn a lesson, they don't learn the lessons of history. It's clear, that it doesn't work. It's not a good idea. Iran is something, it's one of the most refined civilizations on earth, Hafez, Omar Khayyam, the rose, mathematics, everything. The other eye of the world, They wrote to the Emperor of Rome, "We are the two eyes of the world. We will help you. You will help us." The empire that goes from the Mediterranean to Central Europe, to Central Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, that's the mathematics that probably ruin your childhood. Were born in Bukhara, but Bukhara was not just any city. Politically speaking, it was Iranian. Bukhara was the Florence of Iran, and they haven't forgotten that. Now, war, yes, well, again, we have to go to the beginnings. Do you remember that in the 50s, there was a guy, very idiosyncratic, whose name was Mossadegh? I don't know if you are familiar with him, He dared to demand 50% of all the earnings from oil. Now, this is what everybody was paying to Saudi Arabia, 50-50. But the Brits had different ideas. So it was the main investment of the United Kingdom abroad. They knocked at the door of the United States and they said, we have a special relationship, do something about it. Then they toppled Mossadegh, and this is probably one of the worst mistakes they ever did. But they don't learn it. And now they will probably do this. Who knows? Perhaps they will dare to go to war. And the result, you can imagine, is going to be, quite frankly, apocalyptic, to use a word very fashionable nowadays in the United States, because it seems that the apocalyptic Christians are at the helm of the country, So, all right, you want an apocalypse, you're going to have it. Don't worry. Attack Iran, attack Russia, attack everybody, at the end. We will attack everybody. It's crazy. It's delirious. This is beginning to look like a James Bond movie. So James Bond is the United States of America and the West, and the guys in front of them, smirts, are the Russians and the Chinese. Well, believe me, Jackson, I don't want to sound patronizing or anything, but this is not international relations, International relations is a completely different story, You are a country, I am a country. I have my interest, you have your interest. And that's all, No, I mean, sovereign equality of all countries in the world. If there is no sovereign equality, that's different. That's a crusade. I'm right, you are not right. And, you introduce the moral factor. And the result, well, war. This is what Hitler wanted to achieve, to rule the world. To put the world in the hands of a Herrenvolk, of a race of masters. Here is not a race of masters because the Americans are not, well, at least theoretically, they are not racist, so to speak. But anyway, freedom. So since we have freedom with us, those who are against us are bad guys. Now, that's not the way to go. These are not international relations. This might be something else, but definitely international relations, that's not, Jackson. That's not. If you want to devote your life to international relations, let me tell you, this is not the way to go.
Yes, they've blown up almost the entire international order. I think they'll put the final nail in the coffin, maybe in Latin America. I've never been to Spain, but I've had a lot of Spanish food when I spend time in Caracas, going around the streets, and very good Spanish food there. And, a lot of common identities and, of course, national heroes. When you look at Venezuela, when you look at the greater Bolivarian Republic, and tied to Spanish history, I guess, in some ways. But what do you make of the potential? Trump's talking about land operations now on not just Venezuela, but on Colombia. We got threats of 100% tariffs on Nicaragua. We've got some escalatory talk about even Cuba and Haiti. It seems like Russia's not enough. Middle East is not enough. They also want war now in the entire Caribbean.
Yeah, well, the national anthem of Germany, forbidden now, said something like that. Now Germany, and then the whole world. The ganze Welt. That was the end. So they are in this wave of optimistic approach to international relations. The world is ours. We can do what we want. Now, history, I know, is not very much respected in the United States. History is, as Henry Ford said, a four-letter word. I don't want to repeat it, but anyway, history doesn't count. But this reminds me, as a Spaniard, this reminds me very, very much the days of glory, inverted commas, of Spain. Super powerful country. Nobody had the money of Spain, the armies, the navy, everything. Spain was everywhere. And, it lost because it wanted to go beyond its limits. It wanted to achieve impossible goals, no less than preventing the spread of Protestantism by military means in Europe. Go and figure. Total catastrophe. And I think the United States are, following in the same tracks, Now, Venezuela, Cuba, all these countries, rogue states, were going to roll in and destroy it. And Iran, too. And Russia, too. And everything, God mitunes, God with us. Pop. And, well, as an old European, and quite frankly, Spaniard at that, I'm terrified. Believe me, there's not a way to go. Napoleon had the same problem. Why did he want to conquer Russia? It's absurd. He had everything. And then, of course, Spain too. Now, the two limits were too much for him, Both Russia, both Spain. Here's the same. Well, Jackson, the United States of America right now do not even have the means to maintain its present military machine. They had to come to us and say, pay more. And they said, pay more because they can't pay. They have reached the point of no return. So everybody says, oh, who cares? 80% of the world lives on dollars. Yes. But if the markets, which are beyond the United States, if they see that the level of indebtedness is too high, the rate of interest will go up, and at a given moment, the United States will collapse. Now, I have the greatest respect for the Fed. They are real wizards of the technological aspect of finance. They are very good. They know the ropes, excellent. But, a treasury, 10 years, at 7%, I doubt very much that the Fed, not even the Fed, could control it. And this is what they are doing. They are heading towards this disgrace. And the only thing we can do, the only thing the Europeans can do is to watch in awe and say, what the hell are you doing, be reasonable, kids, We are going to send you to the headmaster's office, Be careful. Only there is no headmaster, So they can do what they want. And now another very important point. What happens inside the United States of America? Because if Spain at a given moment was powerful, is because the very first thing that the Catholic kings did was to crush the nobility. Mm-hmm. If Louis XIV in France could achieve what he achieved and create the big century of France, is because he destroyed the aristocracy very much like the Spaniards did 100 years before. And if England was able to enjoy the fruits of peace and victory after Waterloo, it's because inside they were in peace. They had a very good system and they reached a balance, an internal balance. But now there is no administration inside the United States of America. How come? 5 weeks, no government. And Trump intent on destroying the Department of State because it calls the deep state. But they are the officers. They are the soldiers that fight for you. They are the ones that are, taking your strategies and implementing your strategies the world over. Fire. I'm very, very pessimistic. They cannot maintain the hegemony they want to maintain in the way they want to maintain it, because now nobody doubts that they are the most powerful country on earth, 25% of the GDP, the world GDP, but not 50% like in 1945, just 25%, they're very powerful. But the way in which they are trying to implement this greatness is not the right way to go. It's not the way to go. And everybody says it, if they do not accept the present state of affairs in the world, we are going to end up in a war. And this war, Jackson, let me tell you, is not going to be a conventional war. It's going to be nuclear. Let's call a spade a spade. If there is war with Russia and China, it is not going to be like in the Second World War, and taking the hill in Iwo Jima, and the flag. Probably there will not be hills. There will not be Iwo Jima. There will be no flags, nothing. Just a big mushroom, or many big mushrooms. So we have to be prudent. But the American political class seems to be impervious to these elementary considerations. I don't know what to say.
I think the only thing that's certain about the American political system is that whatever is happening right now is not sustainable. So hopefully that means a good thing for all of us in the future. I don't know though, but
absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you.
Yes. Ambassador José Zorilla, thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anywhere you would like to shout out for people to follow you along on social media in the future?
I have my own small YouTube channel. It's called Euro Strategos, but it's in Spanish. So I'm going to begin to broadcast in English too.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, we'll have it linked in the video title for everyone to see. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jackson. Thank you very much. Anytime.